Welcome back. So now we have our weapon, shooting projectiles, and all of that. But we're going to switch gears and we're going to move on to a little bit of more animation stuff before we return to the projectile for fixing the projectile movement and everything else. Okay. So in this video, we're going to look at how to make the player crouch. So if I click on play, so you can bind your key to anything. So I normally like to bind my key to shift for crouch. But by default in most first person shooter games you have control for crouch, but I like it as shift because it's easier for me to reach out, and control is a key below shift. That's my personal choice, but you can also go for control or shift, whatever you like. Okay, so I'm going to switch with shift for crouching, and we're going to have an animation. We're going to use the crouch animation from the all the list of animations that we have, and we're going to create a new blend space, and we're going to make the player crouch when you hit the shift key. And he can also move when he's crouching, because when you are down on your knees you can still move around if you want, but only that the speed is going to slow down. So we're going to figure all of that, and we'll work it out in this video. So I'll go over to my animations, no, the blend spaces. And if you look at your blend spaces for the character, you have the walk and run. Similarly, we're gonna have a different blend space for walk and crouch. Okay, so I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna go for animations, and I'll go for blend space, and of course select the skeleton that you want. And in this case, it's our soldier skeleton, and name this as crouch. Crouch underscore blend space. There you go. Okay, and now open that up. So now we have this guy doing nothing, and entire graph is clean as when you start off as fresh and new. And we're gonna work with a lot of these crouching animations that you have. So if you look at this, if I want to go back here, and if I go over to the animations part, go to the character, and if I look for something, or I'll just open up my, I'll close off the skeleton, all of these guys, projectile as well. I don't need it right now. And for the paint volume, also I don't need it. And crouch blend space, weapon base, I'll close it. I'll just open up my character, not the animations, but I'll open up my character itself. And let's take a look at the crouch animation. So go over here and look for the crouch animations. Crouch, and you have all of these: crouching, turn, 90 left, crouching, and all of these. So let's take a look at all of them. So here you have, I scroll down, and if I go to the skeleton tree and I go to the hips, and or just hit okay, and if I just move around, and if I can see that it's looking fine, right? It is looking fine. So, and if I look for the turn right, and he's turning right with the crouch animation, that's good. And death crouching, headshot front, and they go. And while he's crouching, he gets a headshot and he dies. And then you have idle crouching. Oh no, this is idle crouching aiming, and this is idle crouching. He's not aiming through the iron sights, and that's walk crouching backward in place, and so on. And all of these are exactly like the walk, but instead of normal walking, it's crouching, and also the speed will go down. That's great. So go over to the blueprint, and we'll come back to this, but first we'll have to look at our walk, not this, but we'll have to look at our soldier and MVP. I think let me open up my blend space, character, crouch blend space, and there you go. So yeah, so we'll have to start working here. Okay, so let's get this all set up. So I'm going to get off the skeleton tree for now, and I'll go to the asset details. And before we actually set up that horizontal axis and the vertical axis and all of that, I first look for my crouch aiming, and I'm going to drop it at the 0th position of all of these points. Okay, 1. So as soon as I drop that, and you could see that this guy went on idle crouching automatically. Okay, and then I'll click on this and drop it here, click on this, drop it here, click on this, and drop it here. Okay, so, and of course there are more animations that we'll be working with, but for now this is looking good, and he's looking good. Now we just have to again change the axes description and the values as well. So the horizontal axis, as we saw it in the previous walk run blend space, this would be direction, And so now you have direction there, and this would be the vertical axis would be speed. Okay, and now of course we have to set the minimum and the maximum axis values. So this will be minus 180 to 180. Okay, so that'll be complete 360-degree rotation, and also the maximum minimum axis value for the speed will be 0. And if you recall, if I click on this, and if you recall, this is 600 for the speed, which means that he could run up to a speed of 600. And while he's crouching, when he's crouching, that thing is automatically going to come down. So I'll bring this down by from 600. I'll bring this down to 300, because I'm assuming that when a player is crouching and he's trying to move, then the speed of what he can achieve, the speed at which he's going to achieve that is going to be half of what he's going to achieve while he's not crouching. When he's standing and he's running, he won't be able to run when he's crouching, obviously, but he'll be able to move and walk, crouch, or crouch walk, whatever you want to call it, at maximum speed of 300. Okay, so now that we have that, we have to set up the other crouching animations on the different areas of this graph. Okay, I'm going to pause this for a while now, or maybe I'll just keep that playing. It's okay. So now we'll have to create this blend space. The this area of the graph is relatively empty, and the zeroth or the bottom vertices or the bottom points of this graph is filled with the idle aiming crouch. Okay, now we have to fill up the other vertices or other points with other crouching animations. Okay, so I'm gonna be looking for I think I'll just filter it all to crouch so that I can see that. So this is crouch, and this is idle aiming, and walk crouch backward in place, and walk crouch forward in place. So I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to drop it here because that's going to be the top speed at which he's going to be moving forward. And then I'm pick up this particular animation, which is walk crouching forward left in place. I'm going to drag this and I'm going to drop it here in this point. And then for the right, I'm going to drag this and drop it out here. Okay, so that depends on the direction and the speed, all right, and all of that. So now if we take this preview marker and if we start moving around, and now he's moving forwards like that. Okay, and he's moving forwards, and now he's rotating towards the left, and this is going to be rotating towards the right. And if I hit control, and you can see that, okay, he's idle crouching aiming, and at the same time he's walk crouching forward right in place. So he's moving right and he's crouching at the same time. Okay, so that's pretty neat. So we have that set up. Still a long way to go. And for the backwards, if you look for the backwards in place, I will, let's see, and there is the backwards in place. So I'm going to move this and put it out here. And I'm going to drop it, and I'm going to drop one out here as well. And so now if I move my preview marker, and you can see that he's moving backwards, and now if I move it to the right, and it's going to move backwards. And the same, if I move it to the extreme left, he's also going to move backwards. Now if I bring this down, he's going to slow down until he comes down to a halt, a complete halt. And then again the same thing. Okay, there you go. And as the speed increases, he's moving around, and he pauses a bit for moving forward, and then he's actually moving backwards now. In fact, it's better figured out when you look at him from the side like this, and he's moving backwards. And now if I do that, he's gonna start moving forward a little bit, and he's started to move forward. Now this is forward completely. And now if I do that, he's gonna turn towards me. Okay, he's turning right, and then again he stops a little bit out here. This is where that pop is happening. Out here, if you see that he's moving forward, and then this is actually starting to blend in, and the speed you can see that the speed is slowly declining, and now he stops there for a while, and then when he starts moving, he starts moving backwards. He's actually dancing at that point, looking funny. Anyways, so he's moving backwards now. Great. So we have set up all those animations. Okay, so this is all set up. So I'm going to save that and close this guy. Actually I wanted to open this up. This is a soldier anim BP, And of course, you can go over to all of these. If I click on, let's say I click on animation, and this guy comes up. And this is the crouch blend space. I can switch between the blend spaces out here as well. If you look down in the asset browser, you'll find all of your blend space listed down here. So this is crouch blend space, which I am in right now. I can double click and I can go over to my walk run blend space if I want to, but this is what we are working on. So I'm going to have to keep this open. I can close this, and of course, this is what comes up.